Right then guys, so it's another upload of my favourite bait at the minute, which is, well, my favourite bait hands down has been for the past few sessions has definitely been the Bloodworm and jug. Now that's what, we've got krill, and then we've got crayfish meat, and then we've got shrimp, and then underneath this is the Bloodworm and a joker that's in there, and then underneath that there's some shrimp and anchovy. So it's a really high food value bait for I mean this will do 2 kilo of bait. So there's a hell of a lot going on in just 2 kilo of bait. It's probably this and Wales Breath are probably the highest feed baits that I've ever done, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of them have, the base mix has got milk powders in it, but I only use that base mix for fruit baits. That's got like nuts and seed. It's mainly built up of nuts and seed. But it's got that's also got quite an high food value as well. But this, it's got a hell of a lot of food value in it when you take into account if you buy a bag of pellet from your local tackle shop and you blitz that pellet up into a powder form, then I can pretty much guarantee you that there's pretty much at least, I'd say 2 or 3 bags of that in a kilo. A 2 kilo bait is probably 2 or 3 bags of it. It's 50% of its makeup is different fish meals and different powders that I had. The belacan, the shrimp in powdered form, shrimp meat, crayfish shell, crayfish meat. It's endless really where it's at. Now I've tried this in a few colours. I tried it in brown, it did well in brown, but it always seems to do far better when it's got a little bit of red colouring in it. Now the Bloodworm that I use is red anyway, so it injects a lot of red into it through that Bloodworm. Now it's the only thing left to go in this is tomorrow, as I whisk it together, and then tomorrow I add some shrimp paste to it, but that shrimp paste is far too powerful to add the day before you're going to roll it. It's just too strong. It just overpowers kitchen. So then what we've got here is, I don't mess about with end oil or anything like that. It's just a little bit of oil goes into that, and that's nothing other than, what you find is that oil will be pulled into the bait. And then because when you boil the baits, they get like a seal on them, like all boilers do. They get a seal on them. Once that seal's broken, that then releases the oils, and you'll get flat spots over the area you're fishing. So you can be fishing, and then all of a sudden that part of the lake you'll get a ripple over where you're feeding, and then all of a sudden it'll just flatten. That is, if you've not used a bait with a good amount of oil in it, and also the oils, natural oils from the fish, then you won't really have seen it until you actually witness it with your own eyes. But you can get a ripple on pond, and then all of a sudden a fish will come in and it'll start munching on that bait. The minute that a few fish come in and they start breaking the seals on them boilers, that part of the pond flattens. It just flattens off. No matter how windy it is, it will flatten. And when you very first put the bait in, you'll get a flat spot. Eventually that goes. It's key that you see where that flat spot is. Obviously you're going to know where it is anyway if you've been angling a while, and you're going to know exactly where you're baiting and stuff like that. But I don't like to spread my bait. I like to put different. I don't like my bait to be too tight. I've been using a lot of bottom baits. It's been last 2 sessions I've done. I've not put a pop-up part. Now that is very, very unusual for me. I normally only use pop-ups. I don't use bottom baits, but I fish with a lad who I've just started going with, Simon. I've known him a while, but I've only just started fishing with him, and he's not. I don't know how long he's been fishing, but he's not a bad angler at all. He really knows stuff. Now I saw him when we went to Langworth. We were using bottom baits on a Ronnie, and I thought, I'm going to put one out. So I put a bottom bait out, but on a hinge rig. I just want to know what your call would be like. Now, it weren't 100% bottom bait. It was a butyric acid wafter that I do in 14mm in yellow, fishing over yellow baits. And vehicles were unbelievable. But they were more often than not in the scissors at the mouth. And I don't like that. I don't like getting them in that top section of the mouth. It's too thin a membrane, and it's too valuable to a fish to get that teared in any way. It's just not on. In my opinion, it's not on. So just fish with a rig that you know where you're going to get them, and that is a blowback rig in the bottom of the lip. All it is an air rig with a bit of silicone over the bend of the eye to exaggerate that curve, and then another piece actually round the bend on the top bit with the air coming off. So the minute it goes in the mouth, it flips round and it gets me straight in the bottom of the lip. I also found that I fished a whipped D rig on a chod memory free mono, and honestly the calls, they were good, but they were kind of offset. And again, I didn't like that. I got one in the top there, and it was lost at net. It was a nice fish as well, but it was lost at net. And then after that, that was the end of that. It was back to where I used to fish with, and that's blowback rigs with just a bit of silicone round bend, or as simple as it comes. That's not silicone on to exaggerate that bend. Like I said, silicone actually where the bends like that. A piece of silicone actually on this bit here with the bait coming off on that bit towards the bend. Now, not a long air. I like just about a 5 or 6 mil gap. I don't like the air too long. I think they can suck it in, and the hook bait caught here on the wiser fish. And I don't think it's wiser. I just think they're more cute. They feed more differently. But all the ponds I'm fishing are silter, so if it was a gravel pit and I was fishing over gravel spots, I'd put a pop-up part that's popped up pretty lowish at deck. Now it's because it's silt. I know that them fish are feeding totally different to how they would feed over gravel. The silt sifters, the sifting that silt in. You can see mouths going, and it's coming through the pegs, through the gill plates. Now, they feed totally different to a fish that prefers an harder spot. They'll feed totally different, and it's what the pond I've been fishing is. I had a donk around with a lead, and I felt a really hard, and so that's where my rigs went. Now a few hours later, a kid turned up and he said that he dropped a slab in there, a big slab, into margin, exactly where I'd found that hard spot. So once he had found that, that's when I started baiting tight. But with a spread, I put bait, so the bait goes out, probably 12 foot away from where I'm baited, but all over. And then it's kind of like leading them into that tight baited area. Now you want still like a decent sized hook link, probably about 6-7 inch. I like enough so they can suck it in, and I know that a big fish can suck it in, and there's enough hook link there for it to fly into its mouth. I think too short, and they'll suck it in, but then they'll straight back out again. I want it to fly into its mouth and go back in its mouth, be washed about until they're blowing that water back out to get air in the mouth, so they can chew that bait up and then process it through the body. But it definitely opened my eyes to bottom bait fishing. Now, at one point I would not fish a pop-up because I thought they looked too artificial. I thought there's no way is a carp going to slip up for that. It just does not look right. But I was wrong in so many ways with that. But I do not think that you're going to get. I definitely think that the bigger fish as well will always come to an injury on certain places. It's just from my own fishing that injuries seem to definitely pick the better fish out, but on certain places that you know that there's only carp in there, it's definitely well worth banging a bottom bait, and the results speak volumes for themselves. I've done. It's supposed to be an hard place. Well, not hard, but it's not supposed to be really easy. Now I've done it twice, and in total I've had 8 takes, and I should have had at least 5 of them fish. Should have been in the net and on the bank. They were just lost through nothing other than his own fault. It weren't up calls, it was nothing other than their own fault. I had a barbless hook on the first one that I lost, and on the second one, it was just our error that fish were lost. The hook got caught, went through his bottom lip, and it got caught in the nesher of the net. And me pulling the net back, it just pulled the hook out of its mouth and shook its head, and lead did one. So, but both should have been definitely in net. But that's the bloodworm and joker bait. Now I'm definitely going to get back onto rolling at Whale's Breath as well, because I've got a fair few things planned. I've just got a new drone, and it's I'm going to be fishing a reserve. Now it's an old RSPB reserve, but they've no longer got the rights to it, the RSPB, and it's been left pretty much to nature. So there's no sign saying you can't fish, and nobody can really kick you off there. It's open access. It's just not a lot of people fishing because it's hard to get to. Now I've got that drone. The whole point of me really buying that drone was to send it up and have a good scout round to see if there were any points on there that I could fish from, that I could get my bivvy in and get it all tucked away and nicely set up, really for winter, because it's shallow, it's a scrape, but there's some real chunks in there, because I know that for definite. There's some really big fish in there. So it's going to be sending that drone up and getting some footage at banks, really, seeing where I can get in, where I'm not going to be able to get around if it's overgrown and everything else. And that's the whole idea behind drones. So watch out, guys, because there's going to be a lot of footage coming up, so new stuff.